It wasn't a dramatic moment, no raised voices, no confrontation, just a question. A simple question that changed everything. It came from someone who had no reason to care. Not family, not a lawyer, just a person doing their job. I had gone to the bank to ask about a small withdrawal, not because I expected access, but because I needed proof. Proof that I was still being blocked. The teller looked at her screen longer than usual. She frowned slightly. Then she looked up at me. "Robert, do you know why this account is restricted?" she asked. I told her I didn't. I told her I had signed something I didn't fully understand. She didn't interrupt. She didn't rush. She asked for identification. She asked who held authority over the account. When I said it was my son, her expression changed. Not shock, recognition. She excused herself and walked away. I waited, my hands resting on the counter, trying not to read too much into it. When she returned, she wasn't alone. A manager stood beside her. He spoke carefully. He asked me when the document had been signed, whether anyone had explained it to me. For the first time in weeks, someone was asking questions that mattered. He told me something I hadn't heard before. That certain transactions had raised internal concerns. That patterns existed. That sometimes authority was used too efficiently. He didn't accuse anyone. He didn't promise anything. But he said something that felt radical. We can file a report. Not a lawsuit. Not a confrontation. Just a record. A moment where my confusion became documented. He explained that once concerns were noted, certain actions could be paused, reviewed. That word echoed in my head, reviewed. For the first time, the process wasn't moving forward. It was slowing down. I signed a form, but this time I read every word. No one rushed me. No one minimized my questions. When I left the bank, the air felt different. Not lighter, but less heavy. Later that week, a neighbor knocked on my door. She had seen unfamiliar people coming and going. She asked if everything was all right. I hesitated. Then I told her the truth. She listened quietly. Then she said she had noticed similar things with her own aunt. That sentence connected something. I wasn't alone. What I thought was personal was actually a pattern. The next call came from someone unexpected, a social services representative. "A report has reached me, Mr. Robert." She asked if I felt safe, if I felt pressured, if I understood the documents I had signed. Her questions weren't accusatory, they were grounding. They reminded me that my experience mattered, that my voice still existed. I realized then how powerful witnesses are. Not heroes, witnesses, people who notice, who ask, who document. The threat of the nursing home disappeared from conversations, not because it was resolved, but because it was now visible. And visibility changes behavior. My son became more careful, more distant. The language shifted again, less confident, less absolute. I knew this wasn't over, but it had changed shape. For the first time, the system was being observed from the outside. That made it nervous. I sat that night with the notes I had been keeping. Dates, names, words. They were no longer just for me. They were evidence. And evidence doesn't need emotion. It needs clarity. I still didn't know how this would end, but I knew something crucial. Silence had protected them. And speaking, even softly, had finally protected me. If you think stories like this should be told, you can support the channel by liking this video. If you want to keep watching, subscribe to the channel. A new episode every day. Cool doesn't always mean fair.